Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Alexander Mobley from the Body of Believers Unified YouTube channel. Today we got a very special guest kicking that knowledge and wisdom and waking people up out of that matrix. Today we got historian Daniel Humphrey doing chapter 5 of his amazing documentary, Finding Your Identity, the search for who we are. Thank you so much, Danny, for coming here and sharing with the youth and the people.
Yes, sir.
Take it away, my brother.
Yes, how you doing, everybody? Peace and blessings. This is Daniel Humphrey. I'm about to do chapter 5 on discussing about where did slavery come from? Who had the first slaves? Who did this? Because nobody understands where slavery came from. They knew about slavery, but who did it really come from? Here, I'm going to explain it right now to you. So here we go. Who brought African slaves to India? Descendants of the Bantu people of East Africa, Seti ancestors were largely brought to India as slaves by Arabs as early as the 7th century, followed by the Portuguese and the British later on. Now, if you know about India, they had people like Moors and certain other groups that brought like concubines from Africa to them so they could have intercourse with them, not willingly, but by slavery purpose. Because when you're slavery, you are property. So you got to do what you got to do what they tell you. So that was a big gain for people in that because they love to see women. Because if you notice about people in Africa, they was kind of walking around certain ways. You feel me? But you know, people always love the black, the melanated throughout history, whether it's from Europeans or from Asians. So here we go on that one. The Bantu people are the speakers of Bantu languages, comprising several hundred indigenous groups in Africa, spread over a vast area from Central Africa across the African Great Lakes to Southern Africa. So I just wanted to explain about who's the Bantu people. They was very melanated people. That was the Bantu people. But, you know, some people thought that they didn't, you know, they was colonized and other stuff, and they used them for slavery purpose. To build, you know, to build their country, economics, and for love. No, and I won't say love purposes, but I would say for actually rape purposes in a way. So, who first started slavery in Africa? That's very important right here. The transatlantic slave trade began during the 15th century when Portugal and subsequently other European kingdoms were finally able to expand overseas and reach Africa. The Portuguese first began to kidnap people from the west coast of Africa and to take these enslaved back to Europe. Now, why do you think they did that? Because they would train people for resources. So in a way too, it was property. They trade us for tea, spices, you know, ammo, guns, you know, for sexual pleasure, all kind of different things. So we was really actually property. This is how Portuguese and Europe. So Portuguese was really the originators, but Europe loved it too because we built their country. So in a way too, slavery was very economical. And people love to trade slaves. If you watch Django, they were trading slaves all the time.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, if you watch movies, because I know they love to show slavery movies all the time.
Real
12
talk.
Years of Slavery, Roots, all these different movies. So slavery actually happened, but this is the only thing they let black people know throughout history, that we were just only slaves, like we was none else. So I wanted to establish about slavery right there. We was something big, but we wasn't just only slaves, but people gotta know their history regardless. Slavery was the best business in the world. I'm gonna say it one more time. Slavery was the best business in the world. Having people working for barely nothing. It was spread throughout places, for example, America, the Caribbeans, Hispanic territories, and Africa, where melanated people exist at. There is slavery still going. People think slavery is over, But there's slavery still going on to this day in other countries. So slavery is not over. You just in your own personal bubble. So you don't know what's going on in the real world. But slavery still exists. But there's a special kind of slavery that's everywhere around the world. What we call that slavery, we're going to call it mental slavery. Mental slavery is everywhere. I'm going to tell you the definition. It's a state of mind where discerning between liberation and enslavement is twisted, where one becomes trapped by misinformation about self and the world. So we keep thinking this land is the free, the home of the brave. I call it home of the killers, in my opinion. But hey,
Kick it.
But everybody got their own perspective of what America is. But I think it's the land of the land of the killers, in my opinion. All right, but here we go. Slavery led to economics. It led to rape of men and women, and led to violence and killing. It's like, for example, slavery led to economics. White House was built, universities was built. People loved growing their food so they could sell to make money because they was using the slave. So economically, they was gaining. What was they gaining? Money. The thing we work hard for the rest of our life forever. So, and then think about it this way. People just think women got raped. Men got raped too. These men was doing other men. So, they wasn't just raping women. They was raping men too. And that's some sick stuff. Not using and then led to violence and killing. Remember, people used to get whipped. Some people, a black person broke eggs. They whipped the heck out of them. Made sure they put the fear of God into their stability, just to make sure they won't make no mistakes and to keep them in line. So think about what slavery did. Slavery did the worst thing throughout history, but people don't want to even give reparations to people who went through that heck. We would never get reparations because we still not considered fully human. So if you guys looking for that reparation, unless you change the law, you are 3/5 of a human. So let's go to the law, people. Now here we go. The Arabs cut the penis of some Africans so they can't reproduce, and it was barbaric. Now, if you go through your history books, you know they used to do that because they didn't want Africans to keep doing with the women. Them men wanted the women for themselves. They just wanted the men to just work. So they used to cut their penis off so they can't reproduce. They can have a little piece of fun at all. So they just used them for really business purpose and barbaric. What is the definition of barbaric? It is savagely cruel or exceeding brutal, which was very brutal. Cut somebody off penis? I can imagine me if somebody used that on me, cut my penis off. And this is the horriblest things that people do out. And we still can't have one black law in America. Not one. Been passed through. Not one. And we passed through 30. But when that Asian hate for the COVID came out, 1 year, they got saved because that was the worst year of their life. Imagine the worst 400 years of our life, and we still can't get help.
Kick it.
So think about that. And people keep thinking this is for the land of the free, and this is for us, to help us. Okay. Tell me how many Africans burn crosses on people's lawn. Don't worry, I'll wait. How many Africans burn crosses on people's lawn?
TikTok.
How many Africans fed Caucasian kids to alligators? Listen, this is the truth. How many Asian or European colonies we colonized? Not one. How many Caucasians we use for slavery purpose? None. But they will make an excuse because it's in the Bible that they were slaves, that Jews were slaves. That's the only excuse that they would say that they was really slaves. But here's the case. The Jews were slaves, which all of them look Caucasian. And they said they built the pyramids, which we know the Jews was Greek, and the Greeks took over Kemet and turned it to Egypt. So tell me one thing. How can those people survive in that intense heat and build pyramids? Because It took a long time, years to build that. If they was in that Tennessee, they won't survive 2-3 days. So I can't believe that those people built those pyramids and was slaves. If anybody has a right to be called slaves, melanated people. But they wasn't slaves. They were just servants who wanted to build something extraordinary. Something that the world never seen. And that's why, still to this day, nobody could copy off that regimen of what they did. Nobody could ever come to it because melanated people was very gifted, smart. We made math, scientific, all different stuff, medicine, everything. And we built something that's lasting forever. I bet you that still would be 10,000 years. The pyramids would still be here. I might not be here, but the pyramids might be here. Think about it. Now, melanated people build the pyramids 100%. Caucasians couldn't last long in that hot sun. They didn't have sunscreen way back. If they had sunscreen back then, maybe I'll think they'd survive. But sunscreen wasn't invented till like 1858. So think about that. That was even all the way back in BC areas. So they ain't had no such thing as covering their skin in that intense weather. They said Egypt is one of the hottest places in history. So think about that, people. Now, I'm going to tell the difference between a servant and a slave. Okay, this is what is a servant? A person who performs duties for others, especially a person employed in a house or domestic duties or as a personal attendant. See, we have to perform our duty. So think about this. We all have purposes in our life to serve. So they wasn't really slaves, because I'm going to tell you the difference between a servant and a slave. A slave is a person who's the legal property of another and is forced to obey them. We build the pyramids and Hormuzd, which they call it the Sphinx. Hormuzd. You know, they call it the Sphinx now because Greeks named it that, but we had another name for it too. They rather say the Jews or aliens built the pyramids than melanated people. So think about that concept. They don't want us to know history. They don't want us to even think we had anything to do with any part of history. That's why you hear Thomas Edison fitted only the light bulb. He didn't have no help. You hear a lot of different people. And then a lot of Caucasian people took their slaves' ideas and used it as their own because they were still property. Property don't have no say. Think about property. You think a dresser could tell you what to do? If a dresser could tell you what to do, then it's not property no more. But property has no say at all.
Kick it.
So I tell people, man, like the people who build those pyramids and all that was servants because they wanted to build something great. They wanted to perform their duty, their purpose. They wasn't slaves, but if you guys want to believe it, go ahead. But I know my people wasn't slaves. They was servants. They wanted to build something extraordinary. I feel it in my soul. I feel it everywhere. Still to this day, they never show one Black Egypt movie. Not one. You won't even think melanated people was there. So when I tell people to know your history, because even though slavery was traumatic, it's something that taught me something. They did it for money and to build their empire. And for the other benefits, I can't say it extraordinary, but yes, for the other benefits too of having property. So in a way too, we was originated people. I would say slavery interrupted African history at its finest. This is not our history. Slavery is not our history. It was just a fork in the road that stopped us. But by us reading and being educated and actually learning, we will get there one day like our ancestors was back then. So this is the knowledge I'm trying to break upon people. Remember, learn your history at all times. And thank you, and much love to everybody.
Thank you so much, Daniel. We appreciate you, brother, and you keep on kicking that knowledge and wisdom and teaching us our true history. So for y'all who like the video and want to support us in spreading same content and helping the youth across Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, there's one way you can instantly help us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Body of Believers Unified. Like, share, comments on the video. Tell us our ideas. If you got any other ideas for the different ministries we can do in the street, the different work that will help the youth, we greatly appreciate it. We're a virtual organization, but we're in the hub. We on the streets and we doing that work. You know what I'm saying? So thank you so much, everybody. I love you. Peace out. God bless.
Peace.